Hi guys, welcome back to Life is Strange Double Exposure Analysis for Episode 2, Penumbra. I hope I pronounced that right. So as always, we just finished Analysis 1. What we're going to do is we're just going to get straight into the choices. For Jack, the first major choice we encounter is all to do with Lucas. So after we've gone around the bar and then we've discovered the skull with his name on it, you find out that he has a restraining order against Safi, or he's going to put one in place. So Did you delete the photo of the evidence, or did you send it to Safi?
I sent it to Safi. This is something that I forgot to bring up in the previous episode, but when you look, and this is what I thought was really odd, when you read the journal for Max, it says that she was infatuated with Jefferson, which I never quite realised from the first game. But as we've come to realise, male teachers are not to be trusted. So in this choice, I was like, you know what? I hear you. You've probably got some truth in that, but I'm still going to send it to my mate anyway. So, and I was in the minority as well, 35%. So a lot of people were talked around by Lucas. So yeah, I sent it to Safi. What about yourself?
Yeah, I deleted it, and I thought the reason being is I don't want to this guy might be pompous, he might be whatever, but I was like, look, Safi's dead, dead in the other timeline, right? And for me, it's about the murder mystery, and I'm like, me deleting it doesn't delete the fact I know it's happened from my brain, so I've got the information within me. So I'm like, if you are a suspect, I can still use this. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to get in between you. You're still clearly a family man. Later on, we kind of figured out that, or in the same briefcase, that he was somewhere else. I was like, I don't think you're a suspect, so I don't really want to burn bridges at this point this early in the game. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I am gonna delete the photo. We'll see what happens, because as I mentioned in the last analysis, this is as far as I've played episode 2, so I have no idea what the consequences are on that one. Second major choice, mate, is all to do with Gwen when we're on the Overlook. Did we save the footage, or did we stand with Gwen and look at the burn?
I saved the footage. It's a murder mystery. Evidence is key. It just makes sense, right? I know she gave a bit of a bollocking afterwards. She was like, I just wanted to get stoned and burn this and this and that. And the thing is, she does tell you the truth. When she says that what is actually on the USB stick, yeah, it proves that to be that way. And one thing I would ask, and this is for people in the comments, is if you were to stand with Gwen, does this choice necessarily matter at all? Just hit us in the comments, because I'm sort of wondering why this is potentially a main choice in this episode.
Yeah, and to be honest, because having this reveals the big twist, so I actually wonder what happens if you don't save the footage. So in the comments, you could let me know. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I did the same. I saved the footage. I was like, at this point, I don't really have any concrete leads, and I was like, that's evidence which is going to help me out, so I'm diving for that thing. And obviously, because of the Loretta incident in the first episode and now this, I was like, this Gwen, poor gal, she fucking hates me. But I was like, you know what, friend second, finding out who killed Safi first, I've got to do it, I'm afraid. Third big choice, lad, is all to do with this alderman. Did you agree to inform alderman, or did you refuse?
No chance. I refused. I was a good guy. I was, with the whole Safi thing, I backed her. The thing with the Loretta last episode, I was like, I'm not gonna, bail out on Moses. So yeah, I point blank refused him.
I refused as well. Now, I don't know if it's the design of the choice I wasn't a fan of, or if I maybe was talking to people on stream and missed some dialogue, I'm unsure. But to me, it just appeared like, oh, he's handing me his card. Do I accept it? And I was like, well, I might as well, because it would be handy to have the contact of a policeman or an FBI guy or whatever it is, just on hand, just so I have that as a resource. But the stream were proper yelling at me, don't do it, don't do it. And I didn't realize that Moses would feel betrayed by it. I don't know if that's a bad choice design or if I've missed something, but I ended up refusing. But I feel like I probably would have accepted if I wasn't, yelled at by the stream.
I'm curious to see what happens if you agree as well, because the thing is, I obviously know, where the story goes and certain things that happen in this plot. So this choice is particularly interesting to me. I won't say any more, of course, because you've still got to play the game and whatnot. But yeah, comments, hit us. What happens if you agree?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm going to do, lad, for the next choices, which I guess are like sort of some of the minor ones, is we will talk about the location and what happens in it as well. So the first one, we are at the Turtle Bar, where we're talking to Safi and Yasmin, and then you go to the other timeline where Yasmin's grieving in it. Really interesting to see both timelines, but one's got all this Christmas like decor, and then the real one that you started in is a bit more somber and like people were grieving and like the mood's a lot less lighthearted and stuff. But one of the minor choices that we get there is, did you help the timid guy to the bathroom? Now it's really weird because for me, I feel like, I had a glitch actually, and tell you what, we'll speak about glitches because something I forgot to mention as well. Actually, no, there's a glitch in this. I'm going to reword that. I experienced 2 glitches in this game, mate, where... Oh. Yeah, so like, when you're in the museum section where, like you get around the case with Lucas and stuff, there's like some flowers you can pick up, I guess. And it had this like Abraxas member. Now I had the writing to say, oh, there's an Abraxas guy here and you could speak to him and stuff. But like, I don't know, like the character was missing, but I had like the lines come up to say someone was there. So I picked up flowers, but it was just like, there was no explanation as to what was going on. So that happened with me. But I don't think I ever saw a timid guy in my bar as well, because like I saw the bathroom keys because, like you can hit, well, it's E for me on keyboard, but you kind of scan and then you can see items which are like in the other timeline, but not your one. I would go to that timeline and I saw where the bathroom key was, but I couldn't physically pick it up. And I guess you need a prompt from a guy, and there was a point where there was dialogue where a guy said, oh, I need to get to the bathroom. And then I could ask for the code from Amanda. But yeah, like, I never had a prompt. So I feel like I've had 2 missing characters this episode, which has prevented me from getting a choice. So, bit of a nitpick, but, like, bit frustrating as well, mate.
I think I can help you with both. I mean, in terms of the glitch of like the missing person, yeah, that's just a straight up glitch. I think as far as the rose goes, that goes towards a later achievement. Funny thing is I actually missed the rose. I managed to collect everything else. I can't remember what the achievement's called. Is it called like Flutterbug or it's something like that? You had to collect a bunch of things for like, I don't know, some event or whatever. As far as the timid guy thing, I think I know where it potentially went wrong for you. It might not be a glitch. But did you ever go out to the patio at one point at the Snapping Turtle?
I don't think I did, no.
Right, okay. So I think it's in the living timeline. But if you go out to the patio, there's 2 guys out there talking. And as soon as you go out there, they suddenly like shut up shop. They go very quiet. And you've then got to go to the other timeline, go back out to the patio, and then do that thing, where you can like listen to people from the opposite timeline. And they then reveal that they're pulling some prank on some guy or like some, whoever next goes to the toilet, that they're gonna, jump them and like gun them or something like that. So what you've basically then got to do, maybe it's that you didn't get that prompt, you didn't get that conversation in order for the bathroom key thing to unlock, because then after that, if you then go to the bathroom key, or if you like take it and then put it in the other timeline, or it's something like that, it then prevents them from pulling the prank on the timid guy. But to be honest, mate, I don't think you're alone, because looking at this choice, I'm in 27%. So like the vast majority, like 3/4 of people nearly, didn't help the timid guy. So maybe
very well, man.
It's a puzzle to follow or something, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe a bunch of people. And guys, let us know in the comments if you had any weird glitches and missing people. And I'm not talking about Rachel, I'm talking like legit physical beings that would speak to me, but they weren't in the room with me, because I certainly had that on 2 occasions this episode. And, maybe that explains why such a high percentage couldn't help the timid guy. while we're in the bar, lad, obviously Amanda's mad at you in the living timeline for standing her up. Now it's interesting, so I'm guessing the timelines are the exact same up until the murder, because obviously we asked her out before, and because I had this whole romantic thing, she was actually mad at me that I stood her up apparently, and then I had to come up with a lie. Our work got busy. But I really like this whole factor of like having to try and remember which timeline you said what to who in. So it's gonna create quite an interesting dynamic and like almost like a memory puzzle in a way. So yeah, like I just quite like that whole dynamic. I don't know if you thought the same.
I do, yeah. And just as like a little friendly heads up, that is something that like I don't know whether it impacts in a big way, but later on in the game, you will get moments where there'll just be a inconspicuous dialogue choice that pops up, and if you select it, it then sort of you then go, oh damn it, no, that was from the other version of the other timeline. So it does like come into fruition a little bit, mate. But yeah, again, like it in the end, I've got to admit, I flicked the setting on whereby it always told you what timeline you were in. You could probably guess anyway, just from like the general vibe, like the living one, as you say, for the snapping turtle. Really cool, by the way, how it almost feels like the snapping turtle was dead in the dead timeline, you know. Whereas in the living, you've got the Christmas decorations, the Krampus decor, the fun music and stuff. Like the contrast was really cool. I did like that.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah, no, I do agree. But like, obviously, yeah, like we have to do this whole skull puzzle. We find Lucas's name on it. But, you know, very interesting to see that she's being targeted in both timelines. So it's almost like, you know, a murder, you know, she's probably actually under fire in this timeline as well. So it's actually about saving her on top. So really interesting to see where that goes. The moment we go outside, there's this whole thing where Vin's like lost something. Now, I guess now's as good a time as any to say, and you kind of like alluded to it a little bit, you know, with the timid guy in the bathroom, where you can, you know, switch timelines to solve puzzles. I think it's the thing that the first episode somewhat lacks, but I really enjoyed the puzzle element of this game. We have it a little bit with Life is Strange 1, where the power obviously is you can rewind time. So like if you like spill juice on the floor on someone's homework, you can rewind time and then kind of like get it back, you know. But this one does the interesting thing of like going to different timelines to overhear conversations, and we definitely have it to work out if Diamond, you know, to work out that Vin's phone's missing, and then to work out why those two people are approaching Diamond, because initially there's the whole thing, oh, they probably like her, but then it's actually to do with the fact that they think Diamond stole the phone. The next choice, lad, is where's Vin's phone? Did you believe that Diamond took the phone? And on top of that, did you enjoy that new puzzle dynamic we got?
I mean, I did the whole thing where I spoke to Diamond. She then said, oh, you know, or she started laughing, and I was like, okay, clearly she didn't take it. And then you get the thing where you go to a different timeline and listen in on their conversation. As far as like the puzzle element, yeah, I did enjoy it. There was a couple of times, and this is just me being a bit of a misery guts really, but like there was times where I thought, oh come on, you got to keep going back and forth with timelines. I think there was that one where like I think it was the cow skull one where you had to go to the living timeline, then come back, and then she went, oh, I need a step ladder, and then you had to go back again, and then you had to go back again. So there was like a couple of times I was like, oh, you just got to keep going back and forth. But on the whole, like as an idea, it's different, isn't it? It's different slightly to the going back in time part, you know, that we got in Life is Strange 1. And, you know, it throws up in future episodes some pretty cool ones as well. So, yeah, on the whole, you know, I'd rather that than it just be bland and you be walking around. So, yeah.
Nah, very well, lad. Real quick one. Platypus facts, did you sign up for them?
I did not, which I'm annoyed about because apparently there's an achievement for it as well. So, no, I didn't. Don't even know where that is.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's outside somewhere based on the picture of that exploration bit near Diamond somewhere on like outside of the campus, but I think I rushed a bit and I didn't see it, so that's something I'm going to have to go back for. The next bit is like, you know, we spoke about Lucas and, you know, the decision of whether to, you know, once we've cracked the case, literally, whether we send the photo or not. I guess you have a little bit of a kind of natter after like the memorial thing. Now, for me, I was kind of in the Max admitted to Lucas that she felt confused by Safi's death because I never intervened, and I guess a big bit of dialogue comes in if you speak. So as someone who intervened at the memorial, I was just hoping you could shed some light on what happens there.
When you intervene at the memorial?
Yeah, because I guess that when Lucas is sat there, there's two options here that say Max apologized for her comments to Lucas or Max stood by her comments. I never would have got there. So, like, was there a bit of, like, altercation that you intervened with, like, Lucas?
I can't remember for sure. I mean, I've got the option of Max stood by her comments to Lucas. I can't remember if that was prompted by... I mean, it must have been, mustn't it? There must have been a bit of dialogue where I think he... You know what? I think it's coming back to me. I do think that when he sees you, he's like, oh, Max, you've not got an audience to impress now, for like, completely dumping on his parade, basically, when he was at the memorial. And I think there is then a dialogue choice. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to back myself. I was like, you was completely in it for yourself. You wasn't really remembering Safi at all. You was just there talking about your book sales and, what you've done in your career. So, yeah, I did stand by it. And I was happy to do so.
Yeah, well, speaking of besmirching Lucas, devil horns or black eye?
Devil horns. Devil horns, yeah. Again, I feel like that was probably a puzzle similar to the timid guy one where you had to... Because, I mean, for me, straight off the bat, I was like, right, he's going to get pissed off if something happens to that little cardboard cutout. So I knew it was that, so I walked straight to it. But I wonder if you didn't go to it, whether it would be obvious, like whether, because I do recall seeing like a pen on like the counter. So like, I was like, okay, it's probably going to be something to do with that. And it was a pretty neat moment as well, because I swear Max says, I'm going to channel like my inner Chloe now and do some graffiti, which was, obviously a nice callback to like previous games and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I went black eye though, so yeah, like had the missing teeth and stuff. Yeah, pretty fun. But yeah, like you say, I was going to say that as well. It felt very much like Before the Storm. Like obviously the first game we get the photos, Before the Storm we get the graffiti. So it was nice just to kind of feel a bit of like Before the Storm, getting that Chloe energy in there. Next, lad, we have this phone project installation. Now we've spoke about this a little bit. I never got it because when it said, "Oh, interact with it," I just assumed you could take a photo of it, and I thought it was the photo, and then I thought I was done. But I get the impression from these choices that you can speak to it and then hear it in the future, so you can go to a different timeline maybe, or you can hear it. Can you just kind of like fill me in on what happens with this?
That's what I thought was going to happen, right? I thought that you were going to talk into it, and again, my little achievement mind, or hat on, I should say, that you would speak to it, and then a future episode, you could go up to it, listen, and then you'd hear yourself. That's what I thought that was what it was going to be about. But all it really was you would speak into it. It would give you a couple of like dialogue options, something quite sentimental and philosophical, don't stop believing in yourself and all this sort of stuff. But you could then go around to the other side and hear from the past. But it would always be comments from other people. And there is like one particular call, I don't know if it's this episode or if it's like a future one, where you then hear like this girl talking about the Abraxa Society, how she's like, oh, I don't want to complain too much, I've got to this point, this position now. And I don't know if it was like part of that Maya Akoda story arc, because it didn't actually spell out who this girl was. So that just felt like it remains a mystery to me at this day. But I hope that there would be some sort of achievement out of it, but I don't think there was in the end. So it was just obviously a little fun gimmick for players to do when they're in episode.
Very well, lad. Before we get to the whole choice here that says, did you day drink with Vin? I just want to speak about Gwen's office, because we go in there like in a timeline where she's not there to snoop around. What did you make of this section, like the office, the clues we uncover?
So this is the bit, isn't it, where you find the email, right? Where you basically catch her out that she's the one that ended Safi's book deal. Now, we know that it's a murder mystery. If you've seen episode 1, you'll know my view that I felt like something else was going on. Something else was a bit amiss with this whole thing. But you know that traditional thing in a murder mystery when you get like suspects like caught, put right in front of you at the start. And you've had the scene with Gwen where she's on the phone. It's all a bit mysterious. And now you've got this email. And I was like, they're really pushing Gwen here. So therefore, I immediately thought, well, she didn't do it then. If there is like someone here that's committed a murder, then she didn't do it. So I was finding these things, and I was curious, like, okay, why? Why would she help her get a book deal and then immediately call it off afterwards? But in terms of like a suspect for murder, nah, she didn't really do it for me. Pretty nice office though.
No, very much so. Did you water the plant?
I did, yeah, because I know that was something from the first game as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, like in the first game, I drowned the plant because you're supposed to do it once. If you do it in both episodes, you drown the plant, and me being overdoing it and trying to get achievements and stuff, I ended up drowning the plant. But I watered it, and I'm glad I did because I watered Samson later, and I got the achievement, which is nice. But yeah, no, and the whole thing about what you mentioned about, Gwen being a suspect, and, maybe call me out on this, maybe this gets me cancelled, I don't know. But I just, and someone else agreed with me in the stream comments as well, but I just was strongly doubtful that a really open-minded game, like Life is Strange, which is heavy on including minorities, I really doubted they were going to make a minority the killer. And like you mentioned, because it was this early on, I was like, yeah, sure, like, it can't be her, for sure. But I also thought, what a swerve that would be if it was Gwen. So I was thinking, like, well, maybe it's you, but I don't think it is you. And also, like I say, I was sniping on Vin so much that, like, that's where my mind was at this point. And speaking of Vin, he is the next character that we go to now. There is this whole thing about how you can help Abraxas students with their mental health. I didn't see this therapist card, so before I touch on Vin, mate, did you find those cards? Because I didn't.
I did, but I didn't know where to take them. Do you know where you even took them to?
No, I mean, I didn't even see them, mate. And apparently 97% of people didn't either, so I think we're in the high majority here. Someone in the comments might have to let us know on that one, but no, I didn't.
Yeah, because I saw it, because there is a scene with Vin where he's clearly down, right? And I thought it was going to be for him. And I was like, oh, you could give him like the little stress thing, a little helping hand to go get help or whatever. But it didn't. It just turned into like a little sort of did you want to drink with him scene. So yeah, I didn't know where else to give those cards or what to do with them.
No, for sure, mate. Okay, well, we'll have to figure out what happens with that one later on. With Vin, there's two sort of choices here. First one, did you drink with the guy?
I did not. No. Isn't this the bit where he says, "Oh, be sexy" or something, like "be sexy, Max"? And I'm just sort of there, like, just, your best mate's just died, and it's not very fitting to let's just all have a bit of a piss up. You're at your place of work as well. You're outside your boss's office, and I'm like, come on, Vin, like, show a bit of decorum, lad.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if it was in the timeline where Safi died or not, but I actually thought that as well, and I was like, yeah, like, I mean, it's sleazy as well to just suggest that, so I was not. Weirdly, we're in the minority though, mate, so a lot of people agreed, which is odd to me. So if you agreed for a Vin with, to have a drink with him, please let me know in the comments why you did that. But maybe it's because I was so anti-Vin, because he was my number one suspect at this point. So, like, earlier we called in we got a favor from him, right, for finding out that Diamond didn't have the phone. Yeah. Did you use that favor to unlock his phone?
I did not, and I got an achievement for doing so. So, a little pat on the back. Yeah, I just, it said save it for later, and because it also had a choice saying, that Max can go and figure it out for herself, I was like, well, the plot is going to want me to find out for myself anyway. I'm going to have to get this passcode, so I might as well save the favour for later on for something potentially bigger. So that was my logic for it, basically.
That is exactly what I said. Now, admittedly, in the stream, I do the thing where I let the fans choose. I didn't want to do it, but I got outvoted. So yeah, I'm going to blame the fans on this one. So yeah, I got the passcode. Job's super easy. Went in the other one, found his phone, unlocked it. But could you just enlighten me how you crack the code on your own?
Oh, you have to go to. There's a book. There's a book in the library, I think. And it's like the date of birth of like some. Oh, I can't even remember what it's about now.
I was going to say, like, 1951 is a birth date for someone, so I was like, yeah, it's going to be a birth.
It is. It's something like that. But yeah, you find it in the library basically, and then you come back and I can't remember if you've got to like cross timelines or whether you can just do it in that one timeline. But yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, very well. Well, hopefully it doesn't bite me on the bum that I don't get a code or a favour within later, because it might be useful. So we'll have to see what happens there for me. I'm going to backpedal a little bit actually, because I think I did Gwen before Vin, but like, you know, technically like on the choice thing, it comes afterwards. We're going to backpedal back in Gwen's office, lad. One thing I forgot to mention, you get this choice whether you can lower Loretta's grade. Now, I think we spoke about this briefly. You went and did it, didn't you, mate?
I did, yeah. I did. I thought, why not? It didn't really feel like it was me just sort of being mischievous, but it was also like, I don't think there's going to be repercussions for this. So what the heck? I'm just going to do it because she was a bit of a bitch earlier. So yeah, I went ahead and did it.
Yeah, I didn't, and funny enough, it was 50-50 on the stream, so I got to choose myself, and I didn't. And we mentioned in the last analysis that this Loretta character appears like a Victoria, and it feels like Victoria again, where you could like shuffle the photos and fuck about with Victoria for having a mean interaction. And I was along the same lines where I was like, you know what, I think Victoria's going to become good. I think Loretta's going to become good, so I'm not going to mess with her grade. And I don't know what the consequences of this choice are. I will find out in later playthroughs. But you know what? Like, it kind of goes well with Loretta later on in this episode. So I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't tamper with anything. I know Felicie loves chaos and was really gutted that I didn't. But I'm, glad I stuck by my decision. Later on, though, we go up to the Overlook and, we have to pass the cop. One thing I want to say is that it's a pretty simple timeline puzzle where you switch to the timeline where the cop's obviously not going to be there, and then you can transport back. I did kind of want to see what happens if you switch timelines, go behind the cop, then switch timelines again, and then just walk up to the cop and just be like, "Hi mate, I'm behind you, how did this happen?" And just fuck about. I wonder if anything can. I didn't want to risk it in my blind playthrough, but if anyone has in the comments, let me know, because that is something I definitely will be trying if I get time. But when we go up, lad, you can find Safi's phone on the ground. I just want to know if you found that, because I don't think the choice actually comes up in the later section or in the menu afterwards.
I did, yeah. I did. I'm now trying to place what actually happened in that phone call. I think, you know what? I think it's Safi on the other end of the phone, I'm pretty sure Safi's on the other end, and then you're like, wait, what sort of thing? And you sort of just chuck the phone and you're a little bit freaked out by it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, like I think it was as well. So like super interesting. I think I actually would have missed it. So again, I have to thank the fans for pointing me towards that one, because I certainly would have missed it. What I quite like as well when you shift timelines is you hear Chloe like in some of it, and I think we had it in episode 1 a little bit, but you almost hark back to like her getting shot in the bathroom, and I think it really nicely underlines like the kind of trauma Max is going through of 2 of her friends, both like, suffering from like gunshot deaths. So that was pretty dark as well. But when we go to the Overlook, we bump into Gwen, which was like the last person I wanted to bump into, because I'm like, okay, I'm trying to like go around this murder mystery thing and like look at the crime scene, find some clues, and then she's there. She offers us a joint, lad. Do you take it?
I went a bit out of character here. Yeah, I took it. What about you?
Yeah, no, I did it as well. I mean, the vote wanted us to. They also reminded me that apparently it's legal in Vermont as well, because like in a lot of states it is legal. So I was like, okay, technically I'm not doing anything wrong. But also I just was like, yeah, you know what? yeah, I'm gonna do it. You know, like kind of like remedy myself with Gwen a little bit after the other day, and yeah, it was a nice little moment. But of course, like I say, I retrieved the evidence, so she probably regrets that she wasted the marijuana on me. But oh well, what can you do? But later on, we get like Loretta comes back up to the scene, and she mentions this whole Maya thing that you brought up. Now, this kind of shifted my attention away from Vin a little bit, because I was thinking, okay, if there is a pattern where this girl in the past, who, you know, potentially had a book deal that was on the same course as Safi, got like a similar fate, and then it went down as a suicide, it strikes me again. And again, as you mentioned, it's not looking good for the teachers. But that would be something that a teacher who's been at the establishment for a long time, which wouldn't, you know, be a student, is behind this, and if there is a pattern going on. So yeah, like I don't know if that whole Maya kind of angle that Loretta tells you about, if that actually sort of like changes anything for you.
I mean, it was a bit of backstory for me at this point. I mean, you've literally pointed out like the similarities already, where you think is history repeating itself. I was of the view, no, it's probably not, but I do wonder because, you know, Maya is a character that will sort of come into it a little bit more later on, like the backstory does get explained later on. As far as Loretta goes, though, this is probably a point where maybe my view on her slightly shifted, because I did think that she was going to be the Victoria Chase, but like in this particular scene with like when Reggie's having like a panic attack, you say to her, "Oh, fetching water," she fetches water, and then you're saying, "Oh, look after Reggie," and she actually does, and you sort of like, yeah, like I don't know, have I been a bit of an arse there by like lowering her grade earlier on? Is it that just she can be a little bit forward and a little bit sort of passionate with her podcast thing? So, yeah.
And I'm glad that I didn't tamper with her grade as well, because, like, you know, she's nice to you. She gives you this lead kind of thing. One thing that I do regret doing is that the choice is that you could sort of, you can talk to her about that Reggie saw himself at the crime scene or not. I kept her out of it because I was thinking, like, nah, like, you could be a suspect maybe. I kind of have to keep info to myself. And I don't know Loretta's purpose at this stage, if like we're going to get like an inside journalist person, whether she could use that info for good or bad. But I decided it was none of her business and I kept it to myself. I just wanted to know what you did there.
I kept it to myself, 100%, because it's like you say, you don't know the moving parts of the story, who's involved and who's not. You've clearly got this whole background now. Also, the fact that she's doing this podcast as well. You don't know if, like, even if it's on the social media, if it like has like some sort of like dialogue impact later on with a character. If you start go blurting stuff and she puts it all over social media, like, you don't know if it's gonna impact the story or yourself with a certain character later on. So I was like, nah, like, I know you've done good things for Reggie here, but I'm still gonna keep my cards close to my chest. You know, I'm gonna be the one that goes on to solve this thing.
Ah, very well, lad. I mean, that is like, there's the choice, obviously. Did you water Samson, lad?
Yes, I did, and I got the achievement for it.
Oh, very good, mate. I mean, that kind of takes us to the end. Now, we've captured pretty much everything other than a few major things. So one thing that I kind of just have two sort of like main bullet points, and I'm going to start with the minor one. We kind of mentioned the whole thing with Alderman. You know, there's this new detective character, which I agree with you when you saw the trailer, mate. Looks a lot like the main guy from Twin Mirror.
Yeah.
But we get this whole section where like Moses is like, "Oh, I'm a suspect. I got the camera from that night. I don't know what I was thinking. It's locked in my safe." And you have to kind of flip through the timelines. I don't know about you. I really enjoyed this section because it was very puzzling, but like there was like the jeopardy. Like, there's the whole thing where it links back, like, you need a noise to distract him, and then instantly my mind's like, oh, okay, what made noise? Oh, yeah, that Christmas tree of the hot dog thing. And then there's, like, a bit of a stealth section. It might be my favourite kind of puzzle section yet. So I was just a big fan of it, and I always felt like I was always 2 steps ahead of the puzzle, because I'm like, oh, yeah, I need to find this section of the star, and it needs to go on this. And then Max would later find that, and I felt really, like, proud of myself that I was always, like, a step ahead of, like, the puzzle each way.
I really liked it as well, and actually, because there's so many moments, isn't there? Like, you know, particularly when you've got to put the star projector on up the top floor, but there's so many things downstairs where it could be. So, like, you try the cabinet because, like, you've got the safe thing underneath, and then you've got that the little sticker star on, like, one, and you look there. So you're wandering around, you're thinking, where is this thing? And then you go upstairs and you put this projector on. It's just really cool, isn't it? Like the projector, like the whole room. Like I say, the locations in this game are really, really strong. From a puzzle element, great. I would love to know what happens if you screw up the stealth. You know, does it literally just go, oh, you failed, and then you got to retry it? Or does it have some sort of impact? I'm guessing it would be the former, but if, you know, hit us in the comments if you manage to screw up that stealth bit. And yeah, like, honestly, it just, you know, whereas I feel like earlier on in the Snapping Turtle, the going back and forth, I found it mildly tedious. This one had something else going on for it. Even the bit where, like, you've got to take the toy and you've got to take it upstairs, and then you've got to shift back, then place it, and then shift back and go past him on the stairs, because you cannot watch him. Like when you hit the on Xbox, it was the bumper. You can then watch him coming up the stairs as you walk past him and head down to check out where the little hidden compartment is for the camera. But yeah, like it was, mate. You are right. I think it's a good scene.
No, that is very good, and it is a really good point you mentioned of what happens if you fail, because I'm wondering if, like, it stays in the hidden spot, or if the detective gets hold of the camera, which would be really interesting to see what happens if the detective does get hold of the evidence there. But speaking of which, mate, I think the only other point that I really have to mention is the big finale. So we're going to get to that. So, like, obviously, at the very end, you're back in your little lodge, your little house, and you look at, like, the photos just to sort of look back to see if Safi took any more, which could be evidence. And then I didn't expect we were going to get, like, the killer, maybe, because I don't know as much as you do. But yeah, we get a big reveal, lad, as to the end of who shot Safi. So one thing that I found really interesting about this twist, lad, is that I'm not really kind of like thinking, early doors I'm thinking, maybe it's Vin. But you had this shout before we even played the game, or like after episode 1 of, I reckon the gunshot came from a different timeline, and maybe it was like accidental or something. But it's funny because right before the reveal happened, I thought to myself, and I did say this somewhere in my episode, everyone has an alternate version of themselves. I wonder if there's an alternate version of Max. And I parked that thought aside, and then there she is, because it's not our Max that's done it, but other timeline Max with a gunshot. Look at the camera. I mean, I imagine that writes in stone other Max is the killer, but you know, maybe there's more to that. I don't know, because that is as far as I've got. But lad, let us know, what did you think of that big twist?
I've got to say ditto. And it was really the point. There's two things here. So like there's one, the biggest one was the Reggie thing. You know, when he said, I saw myself, and I was like, okay, so what they're doing is they're setting up a minor character that has a doppelganger. Potentially Max has a doppelganger. But I never really took that chain of thought further when it came to who killed Safi. Also as well, like in this game, there's like these Polaroids that you can collect, isn't there? And when you pick them up and you like listen, you like look at the picture and you listen to like the audio for what's happening in the picture, you are hearing like another timeline. So presumably a third timeline where Max, I don't know, she seems like to be having an absolute blast. Like she seems to be loving it. So like I'm sat there and I'm like, there are other Maxes. But like I say, I just didn't take that chain of thought further when it comes to that final choice. But when you think about it, it feels like it was done intentional. I sort of wonder whether they built this game to have this twist in mind for the Ultimate Edition, because don't you think it's sort of like the perfect point to end? You know, you release 2 episodes, at the end of episode 2 Max is revealed to be the killer. Oh my god, you gotta wait 2 weeks to find out what happens next. It feels like a lot of it just come together at that point. So a part of me surprised it was revealed so early, but then when you put it in the context from a commercial sense, I'm really not surprised that it was sort of thrown in there, you know. But yeah, I've got to admit, I was thinking, damn, we're gonna have some like Max v Max. I didn't expect that twist. I was thinking, where's this gonna go, sort of thing. So yeah, it was, you know, it did half take me, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I never thought of it that way, but from a commercial aspect, it does make sense because I was like, wow, episode 2, really? That's massive. But yeah, and it opens the door to a lot of questions because this whole game has been like, okay, who killed Safi? And it's been like a murder mystery. Now I know the answer. I'm like, is the tone of the game going to completely change? Is it about defending ourselves? Are we not snooping anymore? Are we going to try and confront this other Max? Also, where are the other Max's morals? Because like I like to think Max is a good person. I'm sure other Max probably has a reason. Like, is it to like save her Safi that she has to kill the other one? Like, you know, there's lots of things it could be. So as someone who's not played the rest of the game, my mind is completely like darting around thinking where this game is going to go. But I am excited because as someone who was really anti the idea of double exposure, you know, happening, I've changed my tune a little bit, and a lot hinges on how it will end, but yeah, I'm invested, mate. I really am. Whether it's going to be Game of the Year versus like Frank Stone or Until Dawn Remastered, I'm unsure. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far, and what a twist to throw at us at the end of episode 2, and I can't wait to get stuck into episode 3, mate. But nonetheless, lad, is there any additional points I've missed that you want to touch on?
There's that puzzle box. I wanted to ask,
of course.
Did you do the puzzle box?
Yeah, you know what I did, because it comes to you right at the end, and then it's like, oh, review the evidence, and I did that, and then it was like, oh yeah, go over to Moses, and the game, you know that thing we hate that, you know, Frank Stone let us have, where it tells you which doors advance the scene. Then we had Until Dawn Remastered, which doesn't, and we hate, you know, going through a door and it advances the scene where you could potentially miss out on clues from before and stuff. I very much felt like going through the door to Moses was a surefire way of like ending the game. So I was stuck on this puzzle box, and I solved it, but I wasn't a fan of how I solved it. It very much felt like I had to just do flying guesses around. And there's the little astrology section, and I was looking around at like the poster on my wall that had the star signs, thinking, oh, maybe it matches, and then I align the stars a little bit like you do in Moses' room. But there was none of that, and I literally just did a flying guess for every combo, as well as the spinning wheel one to solve it. So yeah, I did it, and maybe there was a way to solve it with actual evidence, but I solved it. Like, if it was an escape room, it was because I just dialed a bunch of numbers until I got it, and I don't feel rewarded by the fact I got it. How about you?
Right, because yeah, no, I didn't. Obviously I did the first part. I'm guessing the next bit is like the constellation side, right, where you've got to like move the dots to like, you know, almost like they're stars.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I looked around, I was thinking there's got to be some sort of clue. I was thinking, are we expected to remember Moses' star projector thing from earlier to then put it together? And the thing is, had this been towards the beginning of the episode, I probably would have stuck at it. But you're clocking in, what, like 3 hours? Or at least it was for me. It was about 3 hours in. And I'm just like, hopefully I'll be able to come back to it later on. Spoiler alert, you can't. So it's just disappeared from that point in. I believe you get an achievement for it as well. But yeah, no, I didn't. In the end, I was just like, nah, I'll park it, because it felt like what you said. It felt like it would have been guesswork, you know, the answers to the sides of it.
Yeah, it was, and like mathematically, there was only so many combos it could have been, so I just stuck at it until it clicked. And then a card pops out saying that I can join the Abraxas Society. So whether that has bearing in episode 3, because like, you know, maybe I can join and get some inside intel, I don't know. But yeah, no, very, very interesting. But yeah, like, me and you cry out for puzzles in these games, but if we want puzzles, we want them done right. And having to fly and guess at a bunch of combos just isn't the way to like invest me. And like you said as well, yeah, putting it right at the end of the game, yeah, while your brain's already taxed, because me and you, we're like old men now. 3 hours of gaming is a lot, and it's like, oh, do we really have to do that? But yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, no, I agree. But you guys, let us know in the comments if you solved the Abraxas puzzle, and if you did, if you weren't a fan like I was as well of how we solved it. But nonetheless, Jack, anything else?
No, that's it from me.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining, guys. Please look at our episode 1 if you haven't already. Look at our other analysis. Look at all our Go in our Life is Strange playlist. We've got a bunch of other videos. And yeah, we will see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Moses has hypothermia.